number 25, routine personnel action. So item 123, Tiffany Charlotte, it should be corrected, leave and date from April 5th, 2022 to March 30, 2022. And item 124, again, Tiffany Charlotte, correct termination date from April 5th, 2022 to March 30th, 2022. So can I get a motion to approve the agenda of the board meeting June 14th with that correction?
So moved.
Or and a second by Ms. Tanzioni. Okay, here we go. Roll call.
Aye.
Rivera, Ms. Morris,
Aye. Aye.
Ms. Tanzioni,
Aye.
and I. Motion carries 4-0. Item number 2, open session. Pledge of allegiance. Ms. Santa Rajiv, would you mind leading us to the pledge of allegiance? Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Rajiv. Item number 3, public comments related to closed session items. This is the appropriate point in the agenda. Those present to speak with regards to any closed session items on the agenda. Only topics specific to actual closed session items will be heard at this time. Topics that do not address closed session items will be heard during the open session comment. We have no closed session item. Thank you very much. That means we move on to item number 4, closed session. We'll be going into closed session at 5:34 p.m. We should be out by about, 5:55 latest, for about 20 minutes. That's it.
In. Control. Toss it there.
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2.
Item number 4, reconvening to open session. We are reconvening at 5:59 p.m. Item 1, report of action taken in closed session. There was no action taken in closed session. However, we will be going back into closed session before approving the consent calendar. Now we're going to hear a presentation by Ms. Santaraji.
Thank you, Board President. Good evening, Board President, Board members, Superintendent, and Bassett community. I'm happy to present the proposed budget for 22-23 fiscal year. Before I begin my presentation, a big thank you to my team for timely completion of the budget. Slide 2, please. My today's presentation, I'll cover the, how is state's budget looking, how much will K-12 education will be getting, and the proposed budget for next fiscal year and projection for next 2 years and estimated reserves. Next slide, please. As you can see in the slide, we are at the public hearing stage of the budget cycle, which is a step before the budget adoption. Next slide, please. Before I share Bassett's budget, I would like to share the state's budget, as our funding is dependent on the state's funding. In this slide, I just showed column number 1, 2, 3 in red. These are the revised numbers during May 20th, 2022 Governor's budget revision. Governor's office has updated the revenue projections and proposals based on the actual receipts, latest cash receipts, and economic forecast, which is not so different from the school district's budget. You can see an extraordinary revenue growth. The May revision reflects the $55 billion increase in discretionary surplus. So here you have 2021, 21-22, and 22-23. The first column blue is the state's general fund revenue, and the next column, the brown and the maroon, that's the budget for the K-12 education. So the first 2 columns are when Governor presented his original budget for 22-23 at January 2022. And the May revision is what he gave on May 20th. And you can see in 21-22, the revenue projections have gone up by 15 billion, and then again for 22-23. Next slide, please. I'm not sure whether the trend that we see right now is going to continue. That's why I looked at LAO. LAO is a legislative analyst office who is the fiscal watchdog for state of California. According to them, there is a 20% increase from 2021 to 21-22, and then you'll see a reduction of 4% in 22-23, and the out years you have a moderate increase. They are only showing you the big 3 revenue because 95% of the state's general fund revenue comes from personal income tax that we all pay on our earnings, and the corporation tax, which is paid by Google or Walmart on their earnings, and then sales tax that we all pay on the purchases that we make. Next slide, please. So in this slide, I just showed a screenshot of our personal income taxes, how it changed from January 2022 to May 2022 in few months. Dramatically it changed, which is good for the economy. And I want us to remind you that personal income taxes, 2/3 of the state's general fund comes from our personal income taxes that we pay. Of the 2/3, 50%, more than 50% comes from the 1% highest wage earners in California. What it means, it's very volatile, because if you see in May, there's 183 billion of personal income taxes projected for 22-23, of which $68.7 billion is paid by 1% of Californians. So, which is why this is not a predictable trend for the future. And if you see here, even in sales and use tax, there is a projection of 1.7 billion increase, and corporate taxes increased by 14 billion. All of this also because the COVID-induced dollars, which is making these more purchases now and more taxes, right? So next slide, please. So this one is about the Proposition 98 is a minimum guarantee. Out of every $100 the state makes or state gets, they have to pay 38, they have to set aside 38% or $38 to K-12 education. So based on the minimum guarantee, at January 2022, when governor projected the budget, the 2021 revenue was at lower amount and 21-22 revenue was at a lower amount. Now at May 2022, the numbers have gone up. So whenever the numbers go up, far exceeded the projections, then that will be given back to the school districts as a settle up payments, but it will be a one-time payment. This is not included in our budget yet because we don't have the details, but this is something to make a note of. Next slide, please. So what happened to this, $55 billion surplus that state has? So they are going to, governor has decided to distribute the funds in two ways. One is the ongoing investment on K-12 education, and then he's also going to distribute one-time investments. So in this slide, I'm going to share the major ongoing investments is, at January, governor predicted 8.8 billion of ongoing investments, but now he added 3 billion more on that. That's why you have 12.7 billion. If you see on the chart on the right, you see the blue column is the budget that he projected during January 2022. Now the orange is on May 20th, this is the projection. So based on that LCFF revenue, he's setting aside $2.1 billion, and then he's also increasing slightly for ELOP, Expanded Learning Opportunity Program grant, and he's adding some money for universal meals. And these are all the ways that he's trying to spend the additional $3 billion, which is a major ongoing investments. Next slide, please. The one-time investments, he set aside $4 billion at during January. Now he's adding $12.8 billion. These are all coming to us by way of a one-time funds. On the right, you can see all the areas that he's planning to invest. The first item is a discretionary block grant that is a brand new that he's introduced, $8 billion. We don't have the details yet. That's going to come to us as a one-time. And then the next, there are some slight adjustments, and some of it is the red column is the one that he projected, and the blue column is the one he projecting at May. So there are not much changes. You can see community schools, we are getting I can see the number, sorry, it's $1.5 billion. And then we see deferred maintenance, he's increasing the budget by $1.5 billion. So these are the additional money that will be coming our way, which we don't have the details yet, so we have not reflected in our 22-23 budget. And next slide, please. So I just wanted to share what is included in our budget, right? So governor's budget at January and May, when you compare the LCFF funding increase, that $6.1 billion, yes, we have increased it. I'll show you how the ADA funding in my later slides. And then we have included the COLA 6.56. The settle-up payments, we don't know yet, and the one-time discretionary funds, we have not included yet. Next slide, please. The assumptions. Our budget for 22-23 and the MYP is built based on these assumptions and our LCFF funding that I'm going to share in a later slide. So we have included the COLA, and then we have also included the consumer price index, which is nothing but the inflation, that we pay higher gas and higher inflation, the same way Bassett also has to pay. So that's why we have included those in our budget for 22-23 and the future years. I know it's really small. I wanted to share everything, and I try to put it in one slide. Sorry about that. And next slide, please. So this is the funding. This is the important key. How we built our revenue is 21-22 base grant per ADA is from $8,000 to $9,800 per this grade span. And then we added on top of it 6.56% of COLA. So we got around, I think, average Bassett got $560 per ADA because of this COLA increase. And then we talked about the $2.1 billion he set aside an ongoing investment. That is $2.1 billion translates into $280 per ADA for Bassett. So that's what the additional LCFF investment line that you see. And then now the revised 22-23 base grant per ADA, average daily attendance of a student is, it's an average of $9,900. I just calculated based on a ratio right now. And then the grade span adjustment of 925, which includes the COLA, right? And then the adjusted base grant right now is $9,800 to $11,000. On top of it, based on our unduplicated people count, your English learners, your partial income students, low income students, we will be funded this additional 20% and 65%, which is all of this is included in our 22-23 budget and our multi-year budget. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to share with this 3-year, right now, LCFF funding the last year was based on last year's ADA or current year ADA, whichever is higher. But this year, at January, when Governor proposed the budget for 22-23, he included the third funding formula, which is going to be approved because I know it passed the Assembly bill, Assembly and the States Senate today, right on target. So if you see here, including the 3-year average ADA, how is our ADA affected, right? If you see here, the dark line on top is our enrollment line. And the green line at the bottom, that's our ADA, beginning from 2014-15. But now you see that the graph is going down because we are declining, right? And then you see that it's going up and then it's meeting the 3,175 where I circled just to show it's because 1920 Governor funded us at the same rate as 1920 for 2021 also because of the hold harmless provision. Otherwise, the graph would have been going down. So that's a COVID additional fund. He paid us based on the 1920 ADA. And then if you come down, we were supposed to land at 2,671. That's our P2 ADA for 21-22 currently. But because of this average 3-year average ADA, we calculated our ADA for 22-23, adding to 1920, 2021, and 21-20, and divided by 3, you got that bump in our ADA to 3,007. So this is a soft landing that Governor was talking that he's given us and which is also reflected in our budget. But nevertheless, the graph is going to come down to the place where we will be, but in few years. So this is a soft landing and this is all reflected in our budget in 22-23. Next slide, please. The general fund budget, but I know this format doesn't look good because this is the first time used CDE's SACS forms on a web-based platform, and I can't change this format. This is the best we could do as of now. So I just highlighted in blue the restricted one-time expenditures. If you see here for 21-22 estimated actuals, the first 3 columns are estimated actuals. What it means is current year budget, this is what we think we would end the year with. We made some adjustments for savings and adjusted all the expenditures. So our budget is at 70.2 million revenue, and then expenditure is 67.8 million. We are estimating we would have a surplus of 2.3 million for 21-22. Then just for transparency purposes, I highlighted in blue. The restricted column includes for 21-22 the one-time funds. And for 22-23, it does not include the one-time funds. That's why it's dropped to 8.8 million revenue. And if you see the budget again, the total expenditure for 22-23 is 52.6 million is the revenue budget, and the expenditure budget is 52.4. So our budget is balanced. We have a surplus of $144,000. I want to also make a note that the budget for 22-23, if you see here, unrestricted column, it went up from 32 million in 21-22 to 37 million in 22-23. What happened, Santa? You increased the budget? Yes. The budget is increased because we got 1.8 million supplemental and concentration grant. So those increases your budget, and we also increased our capital outlay row. If you see a $1 million, $1,026,612 budget placed over there. That's for roof replacements for our school sites, and then a textbook adoption of 800K is included here. And the last adjustment you see is on the last row indirect cost. We have reduced the indirect cost because your one-time money is not there. So that's why all of these changes you will see, and then apart from this, you have a step and column increase, and you have the regular inflation cost that's reflected in our purchases. So our budget moved from 32.8 million to 37.1 million, that's why. And next slide, please. In this slide, I just showed the same general fund in a different format so that you can see what's the this particular slide has the same information, but if you see here the restricted funding, I split into two columns, restricted one time and restricted ongoing. The restricted one time, if you see here, 19.5 million, the second column I'm talking about, the total revenue is 19.5 million, the expenditure is 19.5 million. We may not be spending 100% of all of this, so there will be a carryover, but I cannot move the money until we close our books for 21-22. So that's why when we come back in first interim, we would have those carryover money added to the 22-23 restricted one-time budget. I just wanted to let you know about that. And then, oh, you're already there. Can you, yeah, please move to the next slide, please. Thank you. This is the multi-year projections. Based on the assumptions that we shared, this is the total revenue. The first line, if you see here, I'm 52.6 million is the revenue for 22-23. The total revenue for 23-24 is 50.3 million, and 24-25 is 48.9 million. This is again, although the 3-year average ADA is given, or because of the declining enrollment, you see the revenue numbers going down, CFF revenue numbers going down. And then all the federal funds and one-time funds, we are always budgeting at 90% of the previous year's revenue. That's the conservative budgeting practice. And then expenditures, you see here for the first year, 22-23, we have balance and we have surplus. But for 23-24 and 24-25, we do have we are deficit spending, but we will have to look at it as we go along when we make the adjustments or reductions. And then the row 3, 4, and 5, it's all about the fund balances. I'm going to show you in detail in the next slide. Next slide, please. So this one is our fund balance. Most important slide for today is this. Our beginning fund balance is 16.8 million in 21-22. And then if you see our general fund revenue and general fund expenditure, so we do have a surplus for current year, 2.3 million. And then if you go all the way across, you see that 144,000 is a surplus, and then we have 1.6 negative and 3.7 negative. So our ending fund balance is 19.2 million for 21-22, and then if you go all the way to 24-25, we would end the third year out with $14 million. So again, for 22-23 alone, I'm showing you the commitments or the components of ending fund balance. So the 19.4 million, we have to, this year, DECO requested us to make sure that we set aside the supplemental and concentration dollars that will not be spent for this year, because these are to be spent on high need students. So we have to keep them separate. So that's why it is under the commitment, 3.3 million. And then technology reserve. So we haven't upgraded our fiber optics and bandwidth from 1 gig to 10 gig. So that's why we have, and then our phone lines have not been changed for many years now. So the technology reserve of 750K there. And then you have this roof replacements, not repairs, it's a roof replacement. So at some of the school sites, based on the analysis it was done, we have to have a plan to take care of that, gradually, rather than, doing it later. So we should, that's why this has been added to the commitment. And then the 7% and 3% REU, additional reserve. So our 3% reserve only can pay for 1.5 weeks of our expenditures. So the 10% will pay for 5 weeks of our expenditures. That's why the reserve has been increased to set aside as 10% that will help us, take care of 5 weeks of our expenditures in case of an emergency. So, and the last item is a 3.6 million. We have set aside that money so that we can take care of the deficit that we have, which is actually 3.7 plus 1.6. So we have set aside 3.6 million. to mitigate the out year's deficit. This is something we will be adjusting as we go along in the future years. Next slide, please. So what are the next steps, right? We have this risk to our budget and long-term forecast because you know we are entering a turbulent territory. I heard today that the federal interest rate has gone up from 5 point something to 6.28 last week. And you know the federal interest rate is going to be adjusted to make sure that the inflation is adjusted. So we may be entering into a recession state, and also increasing inflation, supply chain bottlenecks, and the volatility of the stock market. I believe it's entering the bear market now. What it means is all the valuation of the stock will go into thin air when we go into this recession mode. So all of this will impact the state's funding, which thereby will impact our school district funding. So what are we supposed to do? We just continue our process of making sure you have these budgetary control measures. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So we'll continue to enhance our enrollment, making sure that we follow our budgetary control measures and accurate and timely projection, watching our cash flow, and making sure we make cuts far away from the classroom so that we can have a balanced budget. Next slide, please. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Gosh, this is a great presentation. Thank you for the transparency on the summary of ending fund balances and commitments. And also thank you, Dr. Alvarez, for taking the time to explain fund transfers, how the funds are being transferred. I do have a question back on the multi-year projection. So I'm looking at the combined total over. So in 22-23, we have a combined estimated fund balance of 15.7. Oh my gosh, 15.7 million approximately. And then we go up to 17 in the 23-24, but then we end 24-25 with only 10. What is the big, I mean, I could go line by line, but.
So if you see there, the fund balance, if you come to the next, can you show the next slide, please? So that will give you kind of clearly the numbers here. The next slide. Yeah. So here, if you see the fund balance, beginning is 19.2 million for 22-23. We would end the year, estimated fund balance would be 19.4. And then that 19.4 would be, we show at the bottom in how much is restricted, how much is committed, how much is our reserve for economic uncertainty.
Okay.
Did I explain that to you? Because I do see in 22-23. Okay, so 22-23, when you look at the MYP, it shows there is a correction. This particular one, the total does not add up. You're right. The total shows in the Excel file format. The previous slide, please. The previous slide, it does not show, the total does not show correctly. It is 19 million, it should be. Ms. Flores, I think you were right. I think that's why you are confused.
Yes.
It's not 15.7, it is 19.4.
Okay. Thank you.
And I believe the same would apply to 24-25.
On the Excel file?
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be
14.
13, about 13 million.
Sorry about that. This is just some formula error.
Almost 14 million. It should be about.
But our SACS reports that we have given, the 199-page SACS report, they reflect the numbers correctly. This is just an Excel file I wanted to show the one-time fund separately. So, but otherwise our forms are correct, what will be submitted to Lcap.
Right. Thank you. And again, I really like that we're laying out what the reserves are being allocated for. And I see some things in here that we really do need to take care of.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ritchie, for your presentation.
Thank you for accommodating. Thank you.
Now we move on to number 6, public comments. The Board of Education welcomes input from the public. In order to conduct district business in an orderly manner for the privacy and safety of the speakers and to help staff respond more directly, board policies require that public presentations to the board comply with certain procedures, including speakers may address only items that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. When addressing the board, speakers are requested to state their name, address the board from the podium, adhere to the applicable time limit of 3 minutes. Total time allotted for public comment on either agenda or non-agenda items should be 20 minutes. Complaints should follow the district complaint procedures before discussion with the board. First, we have Bassett Teacher Association, BTA. Then we have California School Employee Association, CSEA. We have Ms. Apollonia Sullivan.
Good evening, community and board. I wanted to speak about when Dr. Alvarez was absent and left the district for a little bit. My concern is always where the district is going because I reside here. No matter what, I still a resident. Last time that Dr. Kennard was left in charge with credentials, everybody had a poo-poo, diarrhea. Now we had Ms. Kamiko there. Even though the teachers praise her behind doors and behind her back, they say what incompetent of the district to leave somebody that's not even have the credentials to hold that position. That's disheartening because this is the leadership in the district. So we're gonna talk about shootings and guns and children being killed, and then the next day, what option did Dr. Alvarez have? Put Dr. Kennard in charge again so you guys throw him under the bus? Why are we putting people in charge with not credentials? God forbid something happened, then what? Then what? That's my question and concern to you guys. I don't believe this in an administrative, like I was told, decision. I think sometimes you put the people that you hire right up against the wall and hold a magical knife, and there's not much they can do because you guys know you guys have the power to vote him in or out if you just don't personally like him, instead of really looking at the vision of the children in this community. So it had to be said that when I was going with my issue and my daughter and the abusive teacher that we all know about, Valdez, the only one that had dignity in this whole clown show was Dr. Kennard. Not only held dignity to me, to my daughter, and even to the teachers, but how we forget. Let's not forget.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Next, we have Ms. Mireya Carvajal.
Buenas tardes. Me gustaría, estoy un poco confundida cuando están hablando aquí del 22, el artículo 22 en la agenda. La información que había online no era suficiente porque solamente estaba una carta ahí que decía que iban a votar para mover a fondos, una aprobación para autorizar fondos, pero no decía de qué fondos eran los que quieren aprobarlos para moverlos, pero no daba explicación como de cuáles fondos eran. Y nada más me gustaría, estoy preocupada que no gasten los fondos que son para los niños en otra cosa que no sea para ellos, como tutoría o programas solamente para ellos. Me preocupa que ese dinero no sea para ellos, solamente esa es mi preocupación. Ya mandaron el calendario de la high school, donde habla del 0 periodo, pero el miércoles que estuve en una conferencia con la consejera de mi hijo, me dijo que no podía todavía hacer el plan de este año que venía porque no sabían qué iba a haber en el 0 periodo, si van a tener PE o no, porque había unos bumps, así dijo ella, en el distrito, entonces, pero ya salió el calendario, entonces no sé, cuándo van a tener esas clases listas para poder uno prepararse, para que los niños ya tengan sus clases que van a tomar este año que viene. Yo pensaba que siempre las hacían para los finales del año escolar, pero no sé por qué no están ahí. Algo que me preocupa es, no sé por qué últimamente, o bueno, hoy, en la mañana fui a dejar a mi hijo a la high school y estaban haciendo la jardinería a la hora que ellos están entrando a la escuela. Y toda la tierra en los niños. Yo tengo unas fotos, si quieren, alguien las quiere, yo se las puedo mandar. Y luego después en la tarde a la 1:35 también, estaban otra vez haciendo la jardinería, les estaban echando toda la tierra, no estoy inventando, eso es verdad, tengo unas fotos. Entonces siempre me ha preocupado eso porque, ¿por qué hacen eso? ¿Por qué les echan la tierra a los niños cuando van a entrar a la escuela o cuando salen? ¿Por qué? Se me hace como que los tratan como si fueran huérfanos, como si no tuvieran quien diga por qué hacen eso. Se me hace algo como, no sé, yo no haría eso en mi casa, limpiar a la hora que mis hijos están entrando para echarles toda la tierra, pero no sé por qué hacen eso y eso de verdad que sí me molesta, porque también en el pasado habían hecho eso, pero yo pensaba que ya habían entendido que no deberían de hacer eso. Gracias.
Gracias, señora Carvajal. I don't think I'll do her justice, but her comments were concerning item number 22 in the consent calendar. She feels like there was not enough information being provided to the public. And she also talked about the high school calendar and zero period, that she still sees some issues, especially with some the homeless situation around the high school. And she did also talk about mowing of the lawn during school hours. She doesn't feel that is just for that to be happening while kiddos are around. Okay. Next for public comments, we have Gary Martinez.
Good afternoon, Board of Educators. My name is Jerry Martinez, and I serve on the Don Julian School Site Committee, as well as the 2022-23 PTA. And I speak on behalf of a small community located within your district. We would like to know why the short notice when canceling the summer program for the elementary schools, the Think Together program. And is it to do with replacing Think Together with a different provider, or does this have to do with allocated funding for the program itself? And in addition, we'd like to know if we can introduce a motion to overturn the vote or reverse the vote to possibly have the summer program reinstated. Our children benefit from the summer program, especially during the loss of time of the one-on-one during the pandemic. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Next, we have Rose Escobar.
Good evening. My name is Rose Escobar. I'm a parent of a child in Don Julian. And I am here also to speak on the ELOP program that we received a text, a very shocking text on a Thursday afternoon that on Monday we will no longer have a program to put our kids in. I'm here to tell you that it's very upsetting as a parent. because our kids were really looking forward to that program. That is one. But the second thing is we're working parents. We depend on that program, especially if there's funding, and it was going to be provided to us. And for it to be voted down, and the first time not having enough votes, you guys being able to vote on it, is very disheartening that it would now be to the point where it wouldn't be approved, especially that I know that there is funding for that, and our kids really need that program. We as parents need that program. We need a place to put our kids in a place that is safe, a place that if we look around in the news, we continually see all of these shootings, all of these things happening, and our kids really need that space where they can feel safe, and we as parents can go back to work and know that they are safe. You know, I keep on bringing back, we say the Pledge of Allegiance, but let's live by it. Let's bring justice to our kids. Let's bring justice to our teachers. You know, the funding, as far as, you know, I'm not good at everything that was provided to us, but it seems like we have a budget. It seems like they're talking about increasing enrollment, but the way we're going, the way we, you know, I keep on coming to these meetings, asking you guys as parents, as voters, what we need, and I have to keep on coming back, shows to me that you're not gonna meet that. Because everybody that I talk to, the first thing they're thinking about is, I'm gonna leave the district. But I'm here because I believe that you guys are gonna do the right thing and really work hard to make it about the kids and make it about giving the teachers what they need for our kids to do better in school. I don't believe in all of this technology, although I know it's important, but I know that the one-on-one really works. I know that it works because I've seen it with my daughter, and I continually see it with my daughter when she has that one-on-one versus when she has a computer. When she has a computer, I kid you not, all she does is after a while, she's just pushing a bunch of buttons. And I bet you that she's not the only one that does that. So although I do believe that these programs probably do help, I think we need to go back to basics. We need to go ahead and see what our teachers need and really focus on that and see, then secondhand, see how these systems can help them. Again, thank you very much. Please create the justice we need for our kids and our teachers.
Thank you, Ms. Escobar. Item number 7, Superintendent's comments. Dr. Alvarez.
Thank you, Board President. First, I want to begin by thanking the Board of Education for your thoughts and support as I recovered from my surgery. I was out for 3 weeks. I had emergency surgery that kept me from being able to come in at all. So I just want to thank all of you, the staff, Dr. Kennard, Tamiko, Santa, and everyone else who kind of helped fill in and support where needed. And then to the community who kind of reached out to me through the board and individuals for your thoughts and prayers. I really do appreciate it. It wasn't easy, but thank you for that. I want to thank the Bassett High School staff and everyone that worked to put the high school graduation together. I know it's a lot of work when you put a ceremony like that with so many people participating, and both the crowd of those attending as well as the students. It was great to see, to be part of it. I was glad I was able to come in for the graduation and then make a speech to the students. Well deserved, especially them probably being the ones that have the biggest impact with the COVID and being sent home, being out a whole nother year, coming back and still having to deal with all the pandemic stuff of death shields and the screening and going home because you're close proximity and all the other stuff that went with it. So it was great to see them, as well as the adult school graduation. It's always great to see people from various ages willing to come back and get their high school diploma. I just think that's great, and to see that and the family celebrating it. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Dr. Alvarez. Move on to item 8, board member comments. Ms. Rivera.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to congratulate all our students from that graduated from Bassett High School, from the adult school and especially in Nueva Vista. I'd like to also congratulate our 8th graders that got promoted from Don Julian, Torch, and Edgewood. They were great ceremonies that were done. It was fun and very a happy moment seeing the families all there without the limit of tickets and all that, and that was a great thing. We also had, high school also had the award ceremonies for their high school students, and it was very well attended. It was done here at the gym at the high school instead of the Pomona University where they have it, where it has to go a limited number of attendance. So it's the student and the parent, and if somebody else wants to go, you have to pay the extra money. But at this, everybody was allowed to go. The grandparents were there, the aunts and uncles, and the students, there were a lot of students attended. They got a lot of scholarships, a lot of awards, and it was a very happy moment for everybody, especially the parents, seeing their kids, you know, how long they have been going to school, and then finally getting to the end of graduating and ready to start their new path in college or a career or a trade. That's very, they were very proud of their children. Very happy moment for all of us. I also am upset that the Think Together program did not go through. We do have the funding for it. It was a grant. It didn't come out of the district money. It's from, like Ms. Raji put it on the budget. It's the Expanded Learning Opportunity Program, and it's supposed to give schools an extra 30 days to help the students to do extra activities in the school. We did the first program in the spring, which was very well attended. I attended some of the things, and the kids were having a good time. And I was sad that it didn't happen for the summer, especially since they had brought it to us way back in February and March to look at the program, and spring was supposed to be the start and see how it went, and yet, and then think about the summer, but nobody ever thought of it again until it was brought up, and then they felt it was too short of a notice. So I would like to bring it up to my colleagues that really look at pay attention to the presentations and take notes if we need to, because when they bring this program later, then we think, oh, I never heard of it. When people take a hard time, our administration, our teachers, our principals, they do hard work to do these presentations for us, and if we don't pay attention, what are we telling them? What are we saying to them? What are we saying to the students? You're not worth us listening to these presentations? You're not worth us giving you 3 weeks of a summer program? No, we're here for our kids. That's what we're here for. Our students, our staff, that's what we're here for, our community. We're not here for anything else for our benefit or for what we think we're gonna feel or do. It's what we think is best for our students, what is best for everybody with the funding that we get. So thank you all that spoke on the Think Together program. I wish there was something we could do about it, but I don't know. But again, thank you for speaking on it, and thanks to all the parents and everybody that attended tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rivera. Ms. Flores?
Good evening, everybody. I would also like to piggyback. I did get to attend the promotions and the graduations. Congratulations to all our graduates, Nueva Vista, our high school. There was a beautiful ceremony, and I thank all the principals that attended that high school graduation. The adult school was very nice, closed off last, I think it was Thursday, yes. DJ, their first promotion, it was really nice, as always. Good, the programming and everything out there is great. And Edgewood. So thank you and congratulations to all the students that graduated, and looking forward to see what their next steps are. Moving forward, I would like to wish, since we won't have a meeting till after, I'd like to wish all our fathers out there, happy Father's Day. Enjoy your week, and thank you all for all that you do. And I also would like to thank those who came out to speak. Community input is always very much welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. Ms. Tanzioni?
Good evening, Bassett. Happy Pride Month, everyone. A big congrats to all of our grads. You did it in the most tumultuous couple of years. something you can tell your grandchildren about. Again, I would like to extend my condolences to the family and friends of Miss Tiffany. Her services were, I believe, held yesterday, and I would have gone to pay my respects, but I'm working summer school. Miss Tiffany was a great example of the best that Bassett has to offer, and she will be truly missed. And I continue to implore the district to meet the needs of our students, including social and emotional, academic, safety, and for the children with special needs, with more quality creative programs that are financially responsible, that would put our students on an equal playing field with students in other districts. And our students deserve that, I believe, and I believe you all do too. And I'd like to see a focus on the arts and scientists that would engage, enrich, and empower our children. And I believe they're worth that. They're more than capable. And that's all I have to say, other than be safe out there. Things are changing. I was not able to attend the graduation because I was one of those people that was in close proximity to one of my summer school students that caught COVID. Once a week, I've been having to watch what's going on because of that. And my district is back in masks because of it. But so stay safe out there, everybody. Have a great and wonderful day, weekend, night, and the rest of your month until we meet again.
Thank you, Ms. Tanzioni. Yeah, I mean, I also want to congratulate all of our graduates, also those who promoted to a different grade level, to our 8th graders going to high school. It's going to be awesome. 4 years, as our students were sharing with us during graduation, do go by pretty fast. Make the most of them. Thank you to the community who came out. We appreciate your input, your comments. And last but not least, a happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. All right, we move on to item number 9, public hearings, notice of public hearings, I'm sorry. Item 1, conduct an open public hearing for the local control and accountability plan. Board of Education, Bassett Unified School District will hold a public hearing pursuant to California Ed Code 52062, board meeting regarding the local control and accountability plan. As required by law, the Board of Education will hold a public hearing to receive comments from the public for the local control accountability plan, LCAP. Okay. I'll open the hearing first and then you'll present. Okay, thank you. So can I get a motion to open the public hearing? Ms. Flores, and then after Ms. Tanzioni, second.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so the public hearing is open at 6:47 p.m. We will start the presentation, and then if anybody has any questions regarding the presentation, that'll be the time.
Okay, good evening, Board President, Board members, Superintendent, and Bassett community. Today's LCAP presentation will include 3 main sections. Presentation will start in just a couple of minutes here. Thank you. So the 3 main sections, tonight's LCAP presentation will include the Lcap Basics, an overview and the components, the educational partners and the influence their input had on the Lcap, and the actions related to each goal for the Lcap. Next slide, please. This is the Lcap Basics, and the next slide. Thank you. So the Lcap, an overview of the Lcap is that is a 3-year plan that describes the goals, the actions and services, and the expenditures to support positive student outcomes that address the 8 state priorities. Next slide. And just as a reminder, this is the 8 state priorities are listed here. And I'll start at the bottom, the Common Core state standards, basic services, which are basic Williams requirements, the school climate, student achievement, student engagement, other student outcomes, parental involvement, and access to a broad curriculum. So the LCAP is based on those 8 state priorities, and it's a 3-year plan. As a reminder, the LCAP goals for 21 through 2024, Goal A is all students will learn at high levels.
Goal B, Bassett Unified School District will be safe and student-centered for all. And goal C, students will graduate college and career ready. Next slide. The components of the LCAP are a budget overview for parents, the supplement to the annual update, and I'll just remind the board that we presented a few months ago, it was called the mid-year supplement to the LCAP, and that's what's been attached. Then there's the actual LCAP. The next slide shows what you would see if you would go on to the LCAP online. And if you can see right under the red lettering, you see budget overview for parents. The next line is the supplement to the annual update. And then everything below it is the actual index for the LCAP. So just a different way to show what was on the previous slide, but this is the way it shows on the LCAP when you go online. Next slide. So the next few slides, we're going to include information regarding our educational partners' engagement. Next slide, thank you. The first two boxes on top are the meetings that were held. We met with certificated and classified staff, our bargaining unit leaders, the SELPA director, and our administrators. We also met with our parent advisory committee, the PAC, our DLAC group, our parent and community members, and the bottom two boxes describe other educational partner engagement. The surveys, we sent out a survey to a staff, the students, and the community, and we also conducted LCAP roadshows, which are site meetings, namely at the Coffee with the Principal. Next slide. This slide here shows a listing of all our educational partner meetings. The meetings began in December 7th, 2021, and they ran periodically throughout the months, as you can see, and ended on May 4th, 2022. So once we have discussions with our partners and we survey our partners, we have all of the data and the discussions results in an influence or an impact on the LCAP. The next few slides will list those influences. Parents indicated a need to increase understanding of our UC CSU A through G requirements. So our LCAP will reflect that in Goal C. We'll support parent and college parent information nights, one in the fall and one in the spring, to increase the parent and student awareness of the A through G requirements, as well as understanding the college and career dashboard indicator. Parents also indicated a need to continue to maintain provisions for devices and connectivity, and that is addressed in Goal A, Action 5. Students indicated a need to continue to provide SEL, social emotional learning, tiered system of support, and that is addressed in our Goal B, Action 2. There are several different processes and programs that we've provided, namely Second Step, Thrively, and contracts with various SEL providers. Teachers indicated a need to increase academic support programs. Also, teachers' surveys indicated an increase in strategies and processes to improve the regular involvement of parents. So Goal A, Action 1, will support site administrators to draft plans with their ILTs to focus on these two areas of need. Additionally, the professional development will be pushing out to our sites, and they will be themed, so they'll include engagement, which would include differentiation, strategies for teaching our English learners, and strategies for teaching our SPED students. And lastly, parent engagement. So we are working with our principals so that 2 different parent information nights will be held. 2 college information nights, again, addressing the A through G requirements and the CCI, and the College and Career Indicator, 1 in the fall and 1 in the spring. And additionally, an English learner information night, again, 1 in the fall and 1 in the spring. So the next section of, this is the last section of our presentation, and it includes information regarding the LCAP actions for each goal. Once again, the goals are all students will learn at high levels. That's goal A. Goal B, Bassett will be safe and student-centered for all. And goal C, students will graduate college and career ready. Next slide. So the actions for goal A are listed here, and actions 1 through 6 detail academic achievement. Every action listed there is tied to academic achievement of our students. 7, 8, and 9 are basic services, namely the need for our materials, our textbook adoptions, and that type of thing, facilities, and ensuring that our teachers are appropriately credentialed in the class for our classrooms. And action number 10 is enrichment. So the enrichment provided here under action 10 is our dual immersion program, as well as our GATE program. That's goal A, and those are the actions for goal A. Goal B has to do with this district, Bassett Unified, will be a safe and student-centered for all. So goal B, the actions, the first one is, the action is to increase attendance and reduce our chronic absenteeism rate. The 2 and 3 do deal with social emotional well-being. Our counselors, our student safety monitors, and our campus monitors. And the last action here is, I probably need to have the after-school sports program between the elementary and the middle schools. Again, social emotional, it's called our wellness program, social emotional well-being of our elementary and our middle school students. And goal C. The actions listed for goal C are college and career enrichment. This is where we list our academic competitions and our NEU program. Goal C, action 2 is our CTE pathways, and action 3 has to do with enrichment for our English learners, and namely they are field trips specifically for our English learners to visit colleges and go on different field trips to increase their access to college and various careers. The next slide has this link is what was linked to it's the link that was on the Lcap, on the board agenda. I apologize for that. It's for the board agenda. So this is the draft that you've all seen as part of the board agenda. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kennard, and I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with myself and my fellow colleague to go over this Lcap. There was a question on there and it just escapes me, and I had it marked too. I attended a PTA training this last Saturday, and one of the things that they did mention in there is possibly, because I know you listed all the meetings here, they also suggested the PTA Association meetings and, you know, presenting the Lcap at that time. Is that something, do you think we could do that? So parents are more knowledgeable about
Sure.
this?
That would not be a problem at all.
That's good. And then, yeah, it was, as one of my colleagues mentioned, the awards night at the high school was just amazing. And I was trying to keep track of, because I working in higher ed, I work at Cal State LA. I was trying to keep track of how many were going to LA versus Cal Poly. I honestly think Cal Poly won, but okay. And then to hear our salutatorian, if I'm not mistaken, is going to Berkeley. And our salutatorian, Santoy, is the sister of last year's salutatorian, and she went to Fullerton. So this is really good. We're getting there. We're getting there. So hearing all the different colleges that our students are going to, it's really great. Thank you.
Thank you also for me for doing all of this. I know it's not an easy job to encapsulate all of our needs into one document. As far as the college ready, has there been any thought given to tracking students for that first year to make sure that they were college ready and they find success?
Yes, that we are required to follow up with our students that graduate, and we have a college and career advisor at the high school who communicates with each of our students that graduate and go on to college, and we need to create a report and submit that to the state.
Excellent.
Yeah, on the LCAP Goal B, number 4, action and wellness programs. What kind of programs are those that you're doing for elementary, middle, and high school?
Oh, the sports program, it's the sports after-school program. So because of COVID, we weren't able to implement that this past year, but it's a program where students from, say, Van Wyck will play against Sunkist. So it's an after-school sports program for our students. And then Torch as well participates in that program.
Okay, so this year it will include the elementary students?
It's been including the elementary, it's just that COVID has put a stop to some of that, but it's been an ongoing program for a little while now. I don't know if you remember I believe it was Mr. Figueroa used to run the after-school sports program.
Yeah, there were the middle schools did it, but
Yes.
a lot of the fifth and down and lower weren't getting any sports at that time.
Okay, so yes,
Since
this
we've been
now,
back,
yes, this now includes that.
Yeah, and then, like my colleague said, the PTA meetings would be great if we could get the PTA organized and have regular meetings like they should, then we could do this. It would be good. So,
I'm happy to present to the parents if that's a venue they would like, then I'm happy to do it when they have a meeting.
but thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
And thank you for all the big ones that you gave us, all the more detailed ones that you left us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Medina Kennard.
Thank you.
So at this point, comments pertaining to public hearing, it is wide open. Would anybody want to make comments? Go ahead, Ms. Sullivan.
Okay, first of all, I wanted to say that the LCAP has been taken under control ever since Dr. Knack took over, because it was nothing like this. It was chaotic and not really put in a format that could be understood. Even on the presentation, it's taken a while, but it's getting better every time, and I think this is the best one that I've seen, where you can understand that without 2 years of college degrees, like some teachers. I'm able to understand that with a basic education, so that's good. I wanted to hold on. Okay, I wanted to speak about the PTA. PTA is so far removed, District 1, and I believe that the board member was talking about that, not our local PTA, and when we question, and the president of the board can call me a liar, that this group is so far removed from the community needs and pushes agendas on us, and is not really clear in some schools, to the point that teachers have been presidents and treasurers for 10 years when the bylaws completely. If we really want to fix our community and our needs, PTO would be the way, not another position in District 1 and having some people that are not from this community dictate our needs for our children. I did not know that the district was responsible for diapers and milk and sports and ballet dancing or ballet for my daughter, or else I would have requested that. Let's come back and focus that our children, 20% is succeeding. That group, that magical, perfect, privileged group, that leaves 80% of our students not understanding, not reading at grade level. So right now it's clear, if we start putting everything on LCAP, again, we're gonna continue to lose the message of what this paper represents. It's a school plan that questions, and also groups, make another one, community members that don't have children in the district, maybe retired, that, you know, their tax money is paying for the district, so maybe we should have them come. That would make more logical sense to me, because they see the product of failure or success of this school, that group should be reached out to, not District 1 far away just because we're politically connected. That would be more conductive to this and not to mix one, don't mix one with the other, because it's not right and it's not fair. With my minimal education that I have, common sense, black and white seem to be the theme of mine. PTO has been destructive, very group orientated, not inclusive instead of exclusivity that we've seen, and all board members have a story. Please call me a liar and I will bring samples of this. So let's focus perhaps on us as a family, as a community with PTO, them having an input, which absolutely makes it parents that are here or paying. We have a lot of non-district parents that choose to come here because they do have favoritism, and they do dictate a lot of our policies because they're eternal presidents of Lcap, eternal presidents, and I'm not talking about the people that spoke today. I'm speaking about parents that have been taking control of our schools, and if they're the only ones that show and have an opinion, I get it, you guys have to be dictated, but the teachers have a very understanding of this LCAP and how it's supposed to be written and followed. It just seems that there's the disconnection between the union and what the district understands as an LCAP and what our needs are. I think maybe the teachers and parents have to have a more common ground and not only say it, but actually act on it. But again, good presentation, I understand it, I can talk about it, and that's something that they're reaching to me, a community member. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Would anyone else like to make comments pertaining to our public hearing? Okay. That being said, can I get a motion to close our public hearing?
So moved.
Ms. Rivera.
Second.
Second by Ms. Tanzioni. Okay. Close the public hearing. So it is closed at 7:06 p.m. Item number 2, conduct an open public hearing for the 2022-2023 Bassett Unified School District proposed budget as required by law. The Board of Education will hold a public hearing to receive comments from the public for the 2022-2023 proposed budget. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so Ms. Flores, and second by Ms. Danzioni. The public hearing is open at 7:07 p.m. Comments pertaining to public hearing. Would anybody want to make comments pertaining to the public hearing regarding the proposed budget? Go ahead, Ms. Sullivan.
You can speak loud, you don't need to speak, okay. When it comes to the budget, I believe that Lcap, when they came and did their FICMA audit, whatever the heck that means, they said that Santa was a very competent, very professional, and she was to the job. That's what I heard. The only thing that I have to say that perhaps when she puts examples of what could be or what might be, I think it takes from the true message of simplicity, doing the presentation instead of, well, in this year, according to whatever the governor does, I get that. But again, I'm talking as community, maybe perhaps keeping it simplified because things don't have to be that complicated. And the only thing that I don't want to ricochet back into the financial department, which I'm already hearing noise, that is that 22, you guys are gonna vote on that item on one single strike, which moves funds up to $2.5 million from one to the other. Of course, it will not be mixed with designated or operational, etc. But we have a history of Lakewood coming and checking our book, our checkbook. I'm just saying, how would that affect the budget that's presented either past year or coming school year when we vote also the ability for us to move funds? And I get it, if you don't use them, you lose them. That's what it is. We cannot keep just a positive checking account, but perhaps maybe we need to really see what our needs are and work towards that goal. That would be, and that's just for transparency when it comes to audits and not having enough money for our teachers or whatever the situation may be. So that's just the only thing that I would say. But other than that, I like the presentation, and I feel that financially the district is heading in the right direction, but just be careful not to put the district, the children and the teachers and the staff on the same situation that we're barely trying to climb out of. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Anyone else like to make comments pertaining to public hearing? Good. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Flores.
Second.
And second by Ms. Stanzioni. All right, we're closing our public hearing at 7:10 p.m. All right, item number 9. Let's do it after this. Item number 10, discussion items. We have nothing under that. Item number 11, consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the board to be items that will be enacted by the board in one motion. There will be no discussion of these items prior to the time the board votes on motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move to approve it, but I'd like to pull out for question number 6 and 7 and 8. 6,
7, and 8. So there's a motion on the floor by Ms. Rivera to approve the consent calendar with the exception of 6, 7, and 8 for now. We'll play it up for discussion.
A second.
So Ms. Rivera, and then a motion by and second by Ms. Flores. Okay, roll call. Ms. Rivera.
Aye.
Ms. Flores.
Aye.
Stanzioni.
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries 4-0. All right. Motion to open item number 6 for discussion. 7 and 8. Should we open them all or just one at a time?
6. Well, they all have to do with the what do you call the internet, the thingy,
They're all programs.
huh?
They're all programs, but the first one has to do with special ed.
Yes, like Lexia, Gold Book, and all those. Now, I thought I keep on hearing, and tend to agree that too many of these programs on the computer is just, I don't know if it's helping, if there's a way to measure if it's really helping our students or not. Because I know a lot of the parents don't care for a lot of these computer, help me, or what are they called?
Programs.
Huh?
The programs.
Yeah, programs. And a lot of the parents don't care for them a lot. And I know a lot of the teachers have been saying that there's too many for them to follow. So were these brought up to staff and everybody to see if we wanted to continue them, or?
That's a good question.
For these programs, Lexia, all those where the staff,
Yes, thank you. Board President, if I may, I'd like to have Dr. Kennard address some of those questions regarding the 3 programs. One of them is a grade book, and the other 2 are some of the supplemental programs that they do in the classroom as part of Title I funding. So I'll have Dr. Kennard come up and give more specifics.
okay. And everybody was in agreement to continue with these programs?
Those are agreements to continue, yes. Oh,
So I can address some of those questions, Ms. Rivera. So the grade book is what our special ed teachers use. That's not necessarily a supplemental program. The Renaissance and the Lexia, those were, we did have we have included those in the past in our surveys. and based our decisions on those. And then we're running usage reports to make sure to see which ones we are continuing with. We've already discussed we discussed with the principals regarding the usage, so they are speaking to their teachers, and the principals speak with us about the usage of the programs. We do know that Lexia is going to be a site decision next year, and so we do have those discussions, and one of those was not a supplemental program, but the other two that you mentioned are. And we're working with our principals, who's working with the teachers. Wasn't part of the survey this year, though.
Okay.
Dr. Kennard, I'm not experienced with Lexia. Does it provide for the same assessment and growth towards a goal as Renaissance Learning does? As Renaissance, AR, it sets a baseline and they can grow and you can see their growth in it, whether it's one of the multiple measures. Is Lexia like that too? Because I don't have experience with that.
Yeah, no, I don't. They do have growth and they do continue to work, the students continue to work, but I wouldn't be able to answer that question specifically as if they're meeting goals, if they're setting goals and working toward them. They are dependent on where the student's level is and moving them up as we go from there. But as far as like the AR, setting the goals and doing that, that's a different program.
I'm sorry, to get comment towards Dolores. I have heard the same things. Parents and teachers said that they're overburdened with too many programs. So I think it kind of goes back to how often do you use these programs? I use AR once a week. The kids go on, they take their tests from their books, they get their points, that's it. It's maybe 20 minutes. So it doesn't impact home, it doesn't, and they can take AR tests at home if they so choose, but it's not mandatory. So I think it's based on the usage of these, the moderation or the correct appropriation of time. I don't have the experience with Lexia, but as far as Goldbook goes, I've been pushing that we go to a different kind of IEP program, but because we have what we have right now, this is the most appropriate for that.
It's
and
just,
we're stuck.
I was just questioning because we were on the computer for quite a few, 2 years or year and a half?
Yeah,
The
Goldbook's
kids were
not a
there.
learning tool. You don't learn off a Goldbook, it's what the teacher used to pull down state
And I know
standards.
Lexia does start with, if the students in one level, at the end of the year, they are in a higher level, if they continue using it as supplement, the same as AR, with the reading, it does help it. Is there, like all the schools that are using it, could we see the growth in the students? That's what I'm.
So those are the reports that we run, and we're running those continually. We try to run those annually to see the usage reports and to see, but these reports are supplemental, they're not mandatory. The only one that we are asking teachers to participate in is the iReady, because that gives us a diagnostic and 3 diagnostics throughout the year, very measured growth on those 3 diagnostics. So iReady is the only one that we are asking our teachers to use with our students. That's the only one that the district is saying, please do this one. The others are supplemental and supportive as teachers use small groups. I believe a parent was concerned about putting limitations on the computer and not having them have access to quite a few different sites that they didn't want to on. But yes, limiting and interacting, we do have those conversations with our parents about not just having the students sit on the computer the whole time, making sure that they're doing a variety of items, not just on the computer. It's not healthy, we know that. But they're supplemental, they're not mandatory.
I concur with my colleague, Ms. Rivera, that sometimes, and again, I could be wrong, students learn at different levels, different paces. When you have so much digital, is it really helping the student versus that one-on-one human contact, working with them there? And also, as was mentioned, Renaissance Learning and Lexia, is there, and I probably missed your response, is there can we see a student's progress?
Yes.
Is it helping? Does it supplement the primary teaching? So, or does it go like a different route? We want to reinforce, we want to make sure our teachers have all the best tools possible when they're teaching. And you mentioned the teachers, all the teachers were surveyed and this, or was it just, is it in a meeting or was there a survey done?
With regard to these programs,
To
not
see,
this
to see
year.
if these programs were gonna continue?
No, not this year. That was not part of the survey this year. We worked with our principals. In the past, we have included those questions on our survey, and we've made decisions based on those, which we continued with and which we did not continue with.
So Lexia here has, we're approving an agreement from 22-23. So the teachers were not surveyed?
Not this year. We worked with our principals directly, who worked with their teachers. So in years
Okay,
past.
I got it, I'm sorry, I apologize. You work with the principals who work with the teachers, got it.
Could you explain,
In
the
years-
Renaissance, I'm sorry, the Renaissance is for what grade, the same grade levels as Lexia, or is it higher?
It's, they all go at different grade levels, so Lexia is our TK, and I believe we go through 5 on that. I think some schools are going to a little higher, based on the school's preference. And then our Renaissance is grades, it is also, it's not for TK or K. So AR is for first grade through, I believe, 5th grade. And again, if the site is interested, they use site funds for middle school.
Okay.
And are these last two programs, are they site-based decisions as far as the teachers collaboratively deciding whether or not they're going to use them, or does the principal come in and say, use this?
These are supplemental, and I don't believe any principals mandating that they
Okay.
use them. They're the only ones that are making
iReady.
sure that we're using them is iReady.
That's the one I want to get rid of.
Okay.
So if that's happening differently, then it's not a district mandate for the supplemental programs.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so here we go. So item number 6, can I get a motion to either approve or table item number 6?
Can I move that we make a motion on 6, 7, and 8?
All together? Okay, so can I get a motion to,
On all of them
okay.
at one time?
And what is your motion, Ms. Rivera?
Uh-huh.
To approve? What's your motion?
To approve all of them at one time.
Oh, to approve, I'm sorry. So Ms. Rivera, motion to approve all of them. Can I get a second?
Oh, second.
From Ms. Flores, okay. Okay, roll call, Ms. Rivera?
Aye.
Ms. Flores?
Aye.
Ms. Adjourn?
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, so we go to item number, before we get to item number 12, which is adjournment, we will be going back into closed session. So we're going back into closed session at 7:22 p.m.
Let's do this.
Adjournment, I'm sorry, at 8:07 p.m. There is nothing to report out. Item number 12, adjournment. Our next regular board meeting is June 28th, 2022. Item number 2, adjourn regular board meeting of June 14th, 2022. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Tanzioni. And I'll second it. Roll call.
Aye.
Mrs. Flores?
I'm thinking.
Ms. Tanzioni? Tanzioni?
You okay with that?
I think so.
And aye. So, meeting is adjourned at 8:07 p.m.